Welcome to this week's episode of Vinyl Voices Radio on ESPN 97.5. I'm Jesse Sendejas. John Denman is a co-host of this show. He's on the road this week, so with the conductor out, we're going to keep the train rolling. And we have a guest host this week, Gladys Fuentes. Say hi, Gladys.
Hi, Gladys.
Gladys is a music writer here in Houston. You can see a lot of her work at the Houston Press, and she's written pretty extensively about this week's guest. You want to introduce our guest?
Sure. Amanda Pascali from Houston, but is originally Sicilian and Egyptian parents, right? Writes great music.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Sorry.
First generation. Yeah. Beautiful songs rooted in like your past and some modern flair to it.
Yeah. So we're going to get into it.
What? Say what?
For the fellowship.
This is Vinyl Voices Radio, ESPN 97.5.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm John Denman.
Jesse Sendejas. All right, so welcome back to Vinyl Voices Radio on ESPN 97.5. The show is brought to you every week by the Adley Law Firm, downtown Houston. We have Frank's Pizza as a pizza sponsor, and this week's beer, our beer sponsor this week is Bad Astronaut. So all that kind of aside, we're here with Amanda Pascali. She's got her band here, Addison. Hello. Federico. Hello. And we're going to listen to some songs. So that's how this show works. We listen to songs and then we talk about what we heard. So what are we going to listen to first? You pick.
Oh no. I really honestly want to let you guys pick because I want, I listen to these songs all the time and we listen to these songs all the time and we have our own vision of, orders of songs and what the songs mean to us, but I'm really curious to hear what y'all would choose.
I love them. Mihaela. Am I saying it right?
Yeah. No, it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so Mihaela?
Yes.
That's what we're going to listen to first, y'all.
I had a photograph of the perfect moment. It would just be black, like the way it looks when I close my eyes. Are you smiling? Are you a dancing without a windows? Mihaela, if it wasn't you. Mihaela, if it wasn't you. Who would I be? I got off the train to an office in the city where I asked the name if it wasn't you, who would I be? Oh, who would I be? In an old love letter she wrote, and you are the one I love. Yes, you are the one I love. Tu sei quello del mio cuore. You are the one I love. Sincerely, Mihaela, se non fossi tu. If it wasn't true, then who would I be? Tell me, who would I be? Who would I be?
All right, so that was Mihaela. I'm trying. Is it? It's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us about the song, kind of the origin, where it came from.
Well, I have different stories that I tell for this song depending on where I am. Usually, when my parents aren't there, I tell the
Okay.
true story about it, which is that Mihaela was my dad's girlfriend before he met my mom and before he came to the U.S. And the song is just kind of this reflection that I wrote about when I was 16 or 17, and I found all these love letters from this woman named Mihaela that she wrote to my dad, like, don't leave, don't, where are you, where did you go, what happens to you? And I think a lot of children of immigrants have this moment when they start to wonder, who would I have been if my parents would have never come to the US, or if, one of my parents would have never left their country. And it's kind of just exploring that, all the different versions of yourself that could possibly exist if you or your parents made a single decision that would have changed the course of their lives and your life forever.
Yeah, that's such a cool concept. And I know that your family is, pretty integral to the music that you make. So, I told you this isn't a show where we're like, give us your backstory, but, this is kind of a natural segue for you to talk about that, I think, is, being, first generation here.
Yeah, I think when my parents came to the U.S., obviously they didn't have any connections or friends or anything. So when they met each other and fell in love and had a family, they really instilled, I think, in me and my sisters, for better or for worse, this kind of attitude of, we might not have other people, but we have ourselves. Like when you can't count on anybody else, you're going to be able to count on your family. And so family was always really important to me growing up. My sisters were my best friends. My parents are still my best friends. And even my band that is here with me, Addison and Federico, we are Amanda Pascali and the family. It's kind of like this idea of family that transcends actual blood. It's the people that you can count on. So yeah, all of that is, there's kind of a blurred line between what is backstory and what is the real story.
Right.
It's family.
Yeah.
And with those letters, she was writing him and she didn't know where he was, right?
No.
He was in like a work camp?
Yeah, so my dad was speaking out against the government, which in Romania, it was communist government. And he was essentially kicked out of the country and sent to a labor camp. And then after 2 years in this concentration camp, he was accepted for asylum in the US as a refugee, which is where he came and he met my mom. And this just big, melting pot of cultures and identities formed when my parents fell in love as a result of this rebellion. And when you know that, it kind of makes more sense why I write the kind of music that I write.
Yeah. It's so personal, you know, and so family oriented. And I know you just spoke to how, you know, the guys are the family, you know, but I want to ask them, you know, just kind of being part of the song, you know, how you guys connect with that, because obviously, you know, Amanda, you know her story, but you're bringing your own backgrounds into the music, you know, as you're performing. So speak to that a little bit, just that connection.
Well, it's this song. It's interesting. Amanda wrote it when she was 17. So this most recent version took on a different form because it's not just Amanda playing guitar and voice. Like, we have strings, we have drums, we have electric guitar now. So having these different perspectives, like you say, you know, you can add layers on top of it and make it, you know, have a different format. So we were talking earlier before the last break, you know, it kind of became like this rock ballad. And I wonder, you know, people that already knew you and knew your like folk style, they might have this like entry into your music of, you know, I like Bob Dylan, I like this type of singer-songwriter harmonica. How many people get introduced to your music, you know, being like rockers, you know, and then they hear this kind of like different style, but it's the same story. Right. It just has a different format. Right. And I think you find that in every genre. You can find your story in different genres around the world. So there's a common thread. It's just maybe you found your way to music through one musical tradition. And we do try and experiment as much as possible with, oh, let's try this style. I think it would work, you know, with like a tango arrangement. I think it would work with like a more jazzy arrangement. So it's a lot of fun, you know, even if I don't connect as much, you know, from my personal background. Right. There's a lot that you can do to kind of shape the structure of the song to say, who could you reach, you know, by putting it in this new format? Yeah, I really love that idea, because I think we're going to talk a lot about language tonight, you know, just as we get into some of the other songs. But that's the language of music. You know, that's what you're talking about, Addison, is that's something universal that plays everywhere. So, you know, that's a really cool answer to, you know, that question about where the song came from and how it exists in this, you know, particular version.
Yeah, I was telling them earlier, I love the kind of landscape, excuse me, that like crescendo kind of. So when you do that live, is that you doing it on guitar?
Well, I didn't participate in this recording in particular. But yeah, that could be certainly an option, or with the keyboard, you know, to give more volume, for sure. Yeah. And it's a big, it's tricky. In the studio, you have the magic of unlimited tracks. Yeah. So I could say like, oh, I'll play violin. Let me put another violin, you know, let's do cello, like whatever. Live, we have, you know, we can only play one instrument at a time. You could probably do two at a time. But you have more creative possibilities in the studio. But then live, we're limited. Yeah. But that's fun too, because there's that magic of it. It's a, you know, intimate performance. You gotta find new ways to communicate. Yeah. More lively. Yeah. So this is an original that we just heard, and when we come back from the break here, we're going to listen to not an Amanda Pascali originally written song and talk about that and what you're doing with songs like that. So that'll be when we come back from the break. So Vinyl Voices Radio on ESPN 97.5.
Way down, the grapes grow on a vine which climbs away down.
408 over 30 years, the attorneys at Adley Law Firm have helped navigate their clients through car and truck accidents, premise liability claims, and other types of personal injury cases. They are board certified and have an aggressive reputation with insurance companies, and their caring approach to clients has made them one of Houston's best Google-reviewed personal injury firms. Live chat now with an Adley Law Firm representative at adleylawfirm.com or call 713-999-8669 for a free consultation. No fees unless they win your case. 713-999-8669. Key T Wellness, our friends down in Dickinson, is where you need to go if you're feeling sluggish, non-energetic, and non-motivated, not just when you're hungover. Get to know your numbers. As we get a little older, our hormone levels change, men and women. Key T Wellness can help. Weight loss, hormone optimization, low testosterone, B12, Botox, and more. KeyTWellness.com. Why not feel your best again? KeyTWellness.com.
Vinyl Voices is back with John and Jesse behind the mics. Let's get to the music.
All right, this is Vinyl Voices Radio on ESPN 97.5. I'm Jesse, that's Gladys there. We have Amanda Pascali and the family, DJ Muskratch back there, Jason Esparza, and we're in the Hell and High Water studio, eating pizza from Frank's, drinking beer from Bad Astronaut, all brought to you by the Adley Law Firm. We're missing our main guy, John Denman, tonight, but we're keeping the train rolling. So we're going to chug on to the next song, which is actually not written by Amanda, but kind of tell us about it.
Yeah, so for the better part of last year, because now we are in January, we're in 2024, for the better part of last year, I was living in Italy on a Fulbright project to translate and revitalize Sicilian folk songs, because Sicilian is on the UNESCO list of endangered languages. And this was a project that was funded and endorsed by the US State Department and the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs to kind of expose the world to songs that only a small part of the globe actually is aware of. Songs that, although they're over a century old, speak to some of the most pressing issues of our time: war, genocide, sexism, organized crime, corruption, and things that are relevant all over the world, even beyond Sicily. So I went on this journey to translate these songs into English, and you mentioned that they're not my songs, but of course, when you translate a song versus translating something like a scientific document or a legal document, there's an element of poetry in there where you have to match the rhythm and the rhyme, and essentially you have to rewrite the song in another language, and sometimes you have to take a lot of creative liberty, especially when the song was written about an issue that is very specific to Sicily. And so I took my creative liberty with this song that in Sicilian is called Canta e Conta. In Italian it would be Canta e Racconta, because Sicilian is, it's more than a dialect, it's like its own separate language. And in English I translated it as something like to sing and recount, to recount your stories, your origins, the real life, story of your everyday life, what you grew up with, what you see the people around you doing, and just kind of this resistance to having your story be forgotten in time. This is me, this is who I am, and this is my story.
Yeah. Well, let's check it out. We're going to listen to it, and then after we do, we'll circle back and talk about it some more.
Tonight's the night I run the way the wind blows. Tonight I call the sun upon the shadows. Tonight I pull the curtains off the windows and bring to light the stories of a lifetime. Tonight I breathe the past into my lungs and sing the song of stories to be sung. Tears can't change what's t'ammazza l'innocente, trapoli pugni, puntuli dita, resto col sogno, cerco la vita, canto e conto, conto e canto, per non perdere lo conto. C'è più dolore, c'è più tormento, che gioia amore per l'umanità. They say that tears can't change what's left behind. I know that fear can't stop what's left to find. What do I have to set this story free? Only my voice, it begins with me. Hear my voice. Conto e canto, per non perdere lo conto. La 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 la
All right. So that was nice. Tell us, I think that when not necessarily on the radio show, they're not going to, obviously see that there's a video that we are watching on the podcast, but when we watch the video on the podcast, there are different bandmates in this particular video, so we were kind of talking about it on the break. You might tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Addison and I were in Sicily, and the wildest thing happened. We met a group of musicians that were our age, and they were so excited to meet us because we were American musicians, and they were crazy about American music, about bluegrass, country, folk music, and they were like, wow, that's so cool. Can we play some American music together? And we were like, well, but y'all are Sicilian. Can we play some Sicilian music together? And this was the result that came out of it. So 2 Americans and 3 Sicilians. We got together in this studio in the center of Palermo called Rizia Studio. And this guy Mello recorded us playing my translation of this song, Canta e Conta, to sing and recount. I sang the first part of it in English, and then the girl that is part of this Palermitan band, bluegrass band, the Grasshoppers, Silvia, she sang the Sicilian part, the Sicilian verse, and then in the end I kind of switched between Sicilian and English, and then we ended with this kind of homage to Sicilian traditional music, where she pulls out this big drum that's essentially like a giant tambourine that actually has Arabic origins, as many foods and musical things in Sicily has Arabic origins, and she starts playing this tamburello in the end, and it's just this this big mashup of bluegrass and country and Sicilian music. And storytelling of this story that is a universal story, regardless of the language that it's told in.
Yeah.
You can feel the joy in the video. Sorry for the radio, but find it on YouTube. But it's really beautiful. It just feels like young people, you said it was a song from the 60s.
Yeah.
So I'm sure for people from there, that's a significant song.
Yeah, and a very rebellious song
Yeah.
also for the 60s, because even in the second verse that Sylvia sings here in Sicilian, it's essentially saying, nothing was ever handed to me in my life. You know, you're taught to always obey authority, and in this case, the church. And the author of this song is basically saying that the church never gave me anything. You know, religion never gave me anything. I was never handed anything. Everything that I did in my life, I worked for. And so to say something like that in 1960s Italy was very rebellious and very honest, too.
Yeah. I don't know how you feel about this, but putting it in English, it gives a lot of people access to a song and a time and a message they wouldn't have understood it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how the Grasshoppers felt, or they were just excited?
I initially, so they approached me about doing this video, and initially they wanted to play one of my original songs with me. But I was like, how about we do something that's a little bit of y'all and a little bit of me, and we put it together. And I'm really glad that we ended up doing that. And I hope there's more to come too. Because it's not just my story that I'm telling. It's a story that I think is you know, relatable for a lot of people. Hence, the reason that I recently went viral on social media for singing my translations. I think it's something that moves a lot of people because they can see themselves in those stories. And that's the challenge of translating something, is what's the right balance of including yourself in this story and including the rest of, you know, making something that everyone around the world can relate to.
Right. That does feel like the perfect song for that particular project and, you know, initiative, I guess you would call it. Not necessarily project, but movement, you know, however you want to say it. Is like, I got a story to tell, and I want to tell it, you know. It's basically in the lyric, but it's also like what you're doing, you know. And so it's really cool, that kind of marriage that happened in that particular song.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, very nice. What about you guys as far as a song like that? You know, because I really am interested in, we're like talking about languages, you know, and maybe Amanda said that there's opportunities to do something like this down the line. Federico, you speak Spanish. I mean, is this, and even I think there's a couple of your songs where I feel like there's almost like this mariachi influence, just because, you know, there are similar instruments. But is there some chance for something like that to happen, explore other languages? Because I know you're very rooted in, you know, what you're doing with the, you know, Italian language. So
I think it would be great to explore other cultures as well. But you know, what's touching, it's what Amanda was saying, that I think it's a very contemporary problematic. I think maybe not problematic, but yes, something that touches a lot of people. The fact that we are now a big mix of things, and the issue of not, you know, especially here living in the States, you know, a lot of us come from different places. So sometimes you feel like you're not enough to be from one place, and you're also not enough to be from the other place either, because you left, or your culture is different. Your parents are from somewhere, you don't connect with that. You don't connect with where you are either, because you just don't belong. You're not from there. Language differences, cultural differences, and I think there's something very valuable about telling those stories, and also you know, accepting that reality, not from a negative perspective, but embracing it, you know.
Right.
Living at the limit of places is also a place. Right. And I think that's something interesting that Amanda explores, and playing with languages and with styles and with genres and with sonorities and with stories, which is what people like to hear, is part of what this project I think is about, and I think that's something valuable that people appreciate, and that's why Amanda's doing so well.
And I would add that, just as you were saying, that sort of identity of being in between, or feeling like you're not enough, or striving to belong, or just missing from where you come from, that's a stronger connecting factor than any one nationality.
Sure.
Like, there are more people in the world that have their identity wrapped up in that feeling than I am, this or that.
Right.
And with the world as it is today, people being displaced and, wars and refugees, that's only going to be more common.
That's true.
So,
yeah, that's a good point.
It's more relevant today than ever, and will become more relevant even than now.
Right, right. It's funny, just because listening, we talked, I don't know, maybe I think Gladys wrote something, and you kind of alluded to it in the article that you guys worked on together, but I remember reading that and thinking, oh, that's like that scene from Selena, because they actually talk about that in the movie, how,
Yeah, it's a real feeling.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think it's more people feeling that than being born and raised in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
People move around.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of, For you, going over there, do you feel any of that? Like,
this is a great point, because I grew up in Texas.
Yeah.
I was born in Houston, grew up in San Antonio. I have not been challenged because of, looking different, sounding different, liking different things. Like, typically growing up, I had a common, I guess, like, upbringing, to this area. And then going to Italy, I guess I look sort of similar, but I definitely don't act. And, I didn't know Italian. I'm still learning. For the first time in my life, it was kind of like, wow, I don't belong here. And that was an eye-opening experience. I still had it well, because it's la dolce vita, like, we're having a lot of fun there. It's not like, I had to, like, make a new life for myself and my family.
Yeah.
So it was
You made
easy.
a choice.
Yeah, it
You
was
made a
easy
choice
in that sense. But it was very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what music does. It takes us all different places, and it's very cool to hear about where you guys are going in a literal sense, and then just in the sense of, what you're doing with art. So, so thanks for sharing the story of that song. We're going to listen to another one when we come back from the break. This is Vinyl Voices Radio Show, ESPN 97.5.
KT Wellness, our friends down in Dickinson, is where you need to go if you're feeling sluggish, non-energetic, and non-motivated, not just when you're hungover. Get to know your numbers. As we get a little older, our hormone levels change, men and women. KT Wellness can help. Weight loss, hormone optimization, low testosterone, B12, Botox, and more. KTWellness.com. Why not feel your best again? KTWellness.com. For over 30 years, the attorneys at Adley Law Firm have helped navigate their clients through car and truck accidents, premise liability claims, and other types of personal injury cases. They are board certified and have an aggressive reputation with insurance companies, and their caring approach to clients has made them one of Houston's best Google-reviewed personal injury firms. Live chat now with an Adley Law Firm representative at adleylawfirm.com or call 713-999-8669 for a free consultation. No fees unless they win your case. 713-999-8669.
Welcome to Vinyl Voices.
All right, we're back. This is ESPN 97.5 Vinyl Voices Radio Show. I'm Jesse Sendejas. My co-host, John Denman, he's out this week, so we have Gladys Fuentes here helping us out, Houston Press.
Yeah.
And we have Amanda Pascali. We have The Family, Addison and Federico, and we're going to listen to another song. Let's jump right into the song, and then we'll give ourselves plenty of time to listen to talk about it afterwards. So this one is a Amanda original called Temporary Home.
I met him in the land where in the sun, and just as soon as I have made it, I swear I'm going home. I swear I'm going home. Every morning since he donned a uniform and boots, just like he did at home, and the factory in shades of muted black and white and blue, no color TV home, no color TV home. Temporary anteroom, temporary telephone, temporary concrete ceiling, temporary home. He spoke about a man who worked the sickle with his hand, and a voice that roared like thunder. He said the journey to the golden ground is just along the path down 7 levels under. Oh, temporary anteroom, temporary sleep alone, temporary wings to fly to a temporary home. No name and no passport, no identity to transport, no nation, no conversation. Where do you belong? No name, no passport, no, 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 nobody waits for you to know more. Nobody waits in this underground airport. Where do you belong? I said ain't gonna let nobody turn you around, no, turn you around, no, turn you around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn you around, no, where do you belong? I said ain't gonna let nobody turn you around, no, turn you around, no, turn you around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn you around, no, where do you belong? Where do you belong? Oh, where do you Where do you belong?
All right, nice. Temporary home. Well, you know, on this show, we ask the artists to select the songs that we're going to talk about rather than us kind of cherry picking. So, why this song?
Well, I think that in a lot of ways, we're in Houston right now, and I think in a lot of ways, this is the most Houston song I've ever done. Even as a whole project, we have a music video for this song that we filmed right here in Houston with a Mexican-American film director, Joel Valdez, with actors from a myriad of different cultural backgrounds. It's the story of my dad when he came to the U.S. and, you know, as I was mentioning, he had no money, no connections, and he thought of America as kind of like being his temporary home, as this place that's kind of just a transition space. And then once he makes enough money and finds his freedom, he would return to his home country and be known as the guy that made it in America.
Right.
But that didn't happen for him. I mean, he made it, but he decided to stay here.
Yeah.
And he fell in love with my mom, and then I was born. And a lot of people don't know this, and I stay saying this everywhere I go around the world. Houston has the largest population of immigrants out of any city in the United States. So in this country of immigrants, we are the hotspot. We are the hotspot for foods from different cultures, music from different cultures, different stories and experiences, but those aren't usually the stories that are put in the center stage. And this song is kind of like trying to push that movement to highlight those stories. And so we had actors of different backgrounds playing these characters in my life, like my father, that were not, of the same ethnic background as him. And somehow, in my mind, it works because the story is universal.
Right.
Honestly, listening to it, I was like, this is very Houston.
Thanks.
We are so diverse.
Thanks. Yeah, that's what we were going for.
Yeah.
And we've got like Latin percussion on it.
Yeah.
We've got this kind of like jazz, Afro-Cuban piano part to it. There's Addison adding like the kind of classical influence in there as well. I mean, there's a lot. And we've got trumpets too, and the guy playing trumpets used to play in a mariachi group. So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And mariachis.
I know. I heard it. Yeah. It's funny because we sometimes on this show we have talked also about having that kind of not really an inferiority complex, but certainly we have our sibling over to the west that sometimes gets all the shine, but the beauty of a show like this is just getting to expose anyone who comes across it to what's happening here. And that what you just said, Amanda, about that particular song, just it summarizes the whole scene here. It's like, yeah, I mean, there's certain genres that probably people associate with Houston. Hip hop is big, that kind of thing. But really, it's about even in those songs, you can hear little bits and pieces of all the cultures that live here. And so I really appreciate that you did pick this song, because that's what this show is about. That's what this music is about. To get to share it. I feel very privileged to have you here talking about it.
Thanks, Jesse. It's our pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. What you got? Something else?
Thanks.
You too.
Thank you.
How many times have you written about Amanda now?
I was.
And going back, who goes back furthest? Did I write about her first or did you?
I don't know. But I know that the next song, when I heard it, I thought, oh, she's all grown up. So I don't know.
Because I say it was you.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say it was you, but then I remember long phone calls with Gladys.
Yeah,
Just like
it's a long
talking
time.
about stuff and relating over just awkward experiences that we shared. Yeah.
I think I saw you before I wrote about you, right? I saw you, I had my daughter.
You saw
And I was
us
like,
when we played at
wow,
Cactus Records store.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to mention too, is that this the first time I saw you was at John Denman's old pub, the Drink of Ages pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was on a show that had like some punk rock bands on it too.
Yeah.
And this music, a lot of the songs that you either have written or have translated, have that kind of like a, I don't know if you'd call it punk, but it's like the songs of resistance, the songs of rising up, and so you fit in with the punk group too. You can play Anderson Fair, but you can play, the punk rock pub. So.
And I have.
Yeah, Amanda used to be in a punk band.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember talking about that with the Mihaela crescendo part.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up with like rock music.
Yeah.
And even like the Grasshoppers, it made me think about like the cowpunk train hopping kids
Yeah.
that I grew up knowing. They're just, that's what they do. They just love folk, they love punk, and they just would go around doing things in it.
What about you two? Musically, what's kind of the background for y'all?
Well, I come from a different background. So I grew up in
Not
Buenos
punk.
Aires. Not punk, not punk, but not too far sometimes. I grew up with tango and with Latin American folk music mostly, and with a lot of jazz. Those were my three big things. And then life took me to the classical music world, and opera in particular has been my thing for the past 10 years or so of my life. And
Wow.
And yeah, and now Amanda's music.
Yeah.
Its own genre, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
And you, Addison?
And yeah, classical music in the orchestra for me.
Yeah.
I grew up playing viola and then somehow got a violin so that I could play Irish music at the pub.
Okay.
Before I could even drink, just, you know, because it's fun. And then
Yeah.
playing music, not drinking, which is also fun though.
Yeah.
Bad astronaut.
Bad Astronaut. Shout out to Bad Astronaut.
And then touring with various bands, and I was in one group and the bass player quit, and I was like, well, I have a cello and I can play that like a bass, I think. And so I tried to learn all of them, and it comes in handy now when we're trying to record a string quartet, but we have to just layer the parts on top of each other, and it's just me playing over myself.
Yeah. It's
a lot
kind
of
of
fun.
full circle. You know, I think in that first segment we were talking about how music is a language of its own, and then we kind of went on to literal languages, and now just circling all back to the cultures that live here, but also all the, you know, your respective different backgrounds in music that kind of just come together to create this thing. Yeah. It's really cool to see. So what's next? What do you guys have for 2024?
So we're working on this big project to record the translations that I worked on in Palermo. Last year, I think one of the craziest things that happened to me, and I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, is I set up a camera and I filmed myself singing these translations, just short snippets, and I ended up going viral on social media. So I started the year with a small but mighty following that was pretty exclusive to Houston. And then I ended the year with this kind of global following of over 70,000 people around the world that connected with, you know, the words that I chose in making these translations of songs that had never, ever been translated into any language ever before. And so now there's this, you know, this big pressure to record these songs and release them out into the world, which is a legal battle. Yeah. It's a musical, you know, journey. It's a big project, and we're all involved in it pretty deeply. And so we expect to have several singles out this year and release the project in definitely like some capacity.
Nice.
Yeah, because these are some very old songs.
Mm-hmm. Some of them are very old songs. Some of them are just kind of old songs. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that gives us a lot to look forward to, especially two of us that have kind of followed your story, but hopefully everybody that's catching on maybe by watching this, listening to the show. So where can those folks go to become part of the social media following?
The family.
Part of the family, right? Part of the family.
Well, the great thing about having a name like Amanda Pascali is that I'm very easy to find.
Right.
Not like Addison. If you look up Addison Freeman, you get like 50,000 results. But if you just look, honestly, if you look me up, you can find me. I have a website, amandapascali.com. I'm on the social media websites as Amandina Pascali, which is basically like a little Amanda Pascali. But honestly, if you search my name, you'll be able to find me anywhere. Spotify.
Or if you search Rosa Balestrieri, you'll find Amanda Pascali too.
That's true. Yeah. And what an honor and a privilege and a big responsibility as well.
I found her through you.
And you know, a lot of people tell me that, and I'm really I'm aware of what a responsibility that is. Especially for Sicilian people that didn't know her before.
Yeah.
Younger Sicilian people who weren't aware of her and her legacy. It's a big responsibility, and I don't necessarily think I'm the best person to take it on, but until I started it, no one else had.
Right.
So
Right. Well,
it's now or never.
That's right. That's right. Well, kudos to you for doing that. Congrats with all the success. Really happy to have you all here. Thank you again, Gladys.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to sign off from ESPN 97.5 Vinyl Voices radio show. Thanks to Frank's Pizza for hooking us up with the pizza. Bad Astronaut for the badass beers. Adley Law Firm. GJ Muskrat, Jason Esparza, Gladys again, John out there. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see y'all next week.